Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the City of White Lakes Monday, January 10th, regular city council meeting, 5:30. Roll call, please.
Kramer. Here. Pop.
Here.
Sims.
Here.
Freeland.
Here. Please stand for pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Consent agenda is in front of you tonight. It's just a city council meetings and one other rec meeting St. Louis County is having on the solar farm going up. Anybody got any questions on that? If not, motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Councilor Zins, is there support?
I'll support that.
Support by Councilor Pop. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Guest citizens forum, nobody tonight. Reports from staff. City Administrator Lyman.
The only thing I want to mention is that our audit begins the week of January 17th. So if you come in and bother us, you'll be put to work sorting financial papers.
Okay, thank you. Recreation, Rita Supervisor. Wait.
Everything's going good at the arena right now. We've been pretty busy, lots of games and practices. Outdoor rink's in good shape, but it's been so cold and windy lately that there hasn't been a lot of people out there, which I understand. But otherwise, everything's going well.
Okay, golf course update.
It's my second favorite color,
Okay.
white.
Good. Thank you. Library Director, Sue Sowers.
Our adult winter reading program has started. We're just started the second week, and we have just about 50 people signed up already. The fur trade routes is what we're following in the state of Minnesota, so it's kind of fun. There are some people who have already reached the 4th post, so pretty happy about that. Our baby play space area is completed. Matt Ressa finished the work on that this morning, and we're just waiting for a few items to come in to finish our activity wall for the children's area. We also kind of rearranged where the middle section of the library is. We put a small wall fireplace up and moved the TV over and kind of made it a cozy little nook there, so it's very comfortable for just kind of come sit, relax. And we also put our Curie back out for adults if they'd like to have a cup of coffee or some tea or cider. So come on down and say hello.
Thank you. Public Works Supervisor, Kenny Stanziger. I should have called this in order, I'm sorry. I'm just going off the list.
I was going to suggest that, but
At Public Works, we've taken delivery of the new truck we ordered last year. It came in early December, and we got that added to our fleet now. I've also ordered the new columbarium for the cemetery, which they expect 10 to 12 weeks for it to be built, but I can postpone the shipping of it until springtime once frost goes out. We look forward to getting that put in. Other than that, we've been hauling some snow around some of the commercial areas in town. If we get much more snow, you'll see us out and about in town cleaning intersections and right-of-ways and stuff like that. So that's about all I've got for now.
Okay, thank you. Public Utility Supervisor, Jake Fair.
I've got a couple of agenda items tonight, and then working on the pre-treatment industrial report for the PCA, and then we're starting to investigate some I&I issues we've had since the street project. But Brian will get more into detail on that and where we can possibly find funding for that. So.
Okay, thank you. Ambulance Director, Alan Monstead.
we finished off December with 85 runs. So 2021 we had a total of 942, which was 11 runs down from last year. I do have the year-end report for the council pretty much finished. I was going to get it to you last Thursday, but we had 6 transfers that day, so that was impossible. Otherwise, I just have agenda items.
Okay. Thank you. City Attorney Grunfeld.
Mayor, council, nothing for me.
Okay, thank you. Reports from elected officials. Councilor Zins. Okay, Councilor Pop,
Nothing for me other than
Councilor Kramer,
Nothing tonight.
and I don't have it tonight. It's January and it's cold, so we'll keep moving forward. Correspondence, we took care of old business, new business. 11.1, pay request number 17 to Greer Construction in the amount of $340,884 for the wastewater treatment facility. Ryan?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. It's good to be here with you. As the Mayor said, there is a pay request on tonight. That's number 17 for the wastewater treatment facility. Right now, they've been continuing to work on masonry and concrete. That's been a bulk of the work. There's some piping going on in the filter building. And then in this pay request, they also did get a big delivery of media for the trickling filters. So that was the large delivery item on there. But other than that delivery, a lot of it was concrete work. Things are going fine. We haven't really run into too many issues out there. Obviously, this next construction season will be much busier out there as we are starting to tie into existing facilities. And so it's been pretty easy for staff right now because everything's been worked to the side. But once we get into spring and summer here and have some of these connections, it'll probably be a little bit more demanding for staff as we work through that. But luckily, that's a short piece of the project. So AAP 17 is on there. If there's any questions on that, there was also a memorandum in there with a couple pictures for updating. Things again have slowed down a little bit here with the holidays during this last pay period. But everything's going well. So.
Have a motion to approve pay request number 17?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilor Pop, support.
I'll support.
Support by Councilor Kramer. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Item 11.2, sludge truck purchase for wastewater treatment facility with PFA funding.
So I can just give an overview of how the funding would work for this. And so any PFA project you have, the PFA puts in a 5% contingency on the construction cost. And that cost is already figured into the funding package that you have from the PFA. And so if we look back to that original funding package, that extra 5% is already in there. And so it's already accounted for. If you don't use it, it would simply decrease your loan at the end of the project. Because grant was, you guys got the affordability grant for this, basically, the entire project was, I think, 83% grant. And so if you did not use that contingency money, it would go back, but it would go back proportionally to the grant and loan. So you would get maybe 17% of that off your loan, 83% would go back to the grant. So it would make sense to use that money. The total contingency on this project was $494,000, which is 5% of the bid amount. And so none of that has been used. There are some allowances in the construction project too that are going on, and so there may actually be a little bit more available than that to use for some things down the road. But for the point we are at in the project, being as far as long as we are, I would see no problem using this money for the sludge truck because there is still contingency to work with if something unexpected is run into. And tonight, there's actually not just the final purchase in front of you. I've been working with PFA to make sure that they would approve of this purchase through the loan and the grant. And the item they asked for was a resolution stating that this would solely be used for the wastewater treatment plant. And so what they're trying to protect against is that you would purchase a piece of equipment that's going to be used by public works staff for things outside the treatment plant. That's really why they're requiring that, because this is money funding for wastewater projects. So that's why they're requiring that. So the resolution is just stating the use of the sludge truck would be limited to the wastewater treatment facility. And then I think Jake would come back with a final selection and purchase.
Yeah, once I got approval, I get back in touch with the supplier, he gives me, okay, I have this truck, we'll get it approved and purchased.
Yeah, so when we get to that point, there will be an official change order from Gritter. That will come through to you guys for approval. Tonight is simply getting this piece done so we can submit it to PFA to make sure there's no problems on funding agency.
Done with the resolution?
And, well, just to the PFA asked for a motion or a resolution, and I put a motion. for the
Okay,
council.
yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, we good?
We're good on that.
Good. And council, any discussion on this? I think this is a great thing. I know our sludge truck's in 1895, if I remember. 93, so I mean, it's pushing 30 years old, so to get it 87% paid for through grant, I think is a great option, so. Any other council questions or discussion?
Well, just this agreement for joint use, is this vehicle going to be shared with Aurora? Will strictly
Strictly ours.
Just Aurora will take over the current one then, or what are we going to do with the current vehicle, or?
Once we get the new one, I mean, if we're doing it, like pumping out a sewer line or something else like that, maybe use the old one for that, but as far as I'm concerned, they can buy that truck off us or use it when they need it, because we'll be using the 4,000 gallon for hauling sludge, so,
Something to look into
yeah.
for future. I agree with you.
We
So
don't
was
talk
the-
about it.
Was that, the truck we have now, was that a joint purchase between White Lakes and Aurora?
Yes.
No, the
Well-
city of Hoyt Lakes purchased it.
But then the city of Aurora paid.
Bought
for it.
into it.
Bought into it, paid half.
Yeah. That's been kind of shared back and forth. The way I understand it, the agreement that was made in 2011 hasn't really been upheld.
Oh.
Any other questions? Not hearing any, motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilor Zins, is there support?
I'll support.
Support by Councilor Kramer, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. 11.3, City of White Lakes mandatory COVID-19.
If I could, Supervisor Burns had an item from his that I was going to address with you guys. And so since the storm sewer project was completed last summer, the flows at the wastewater treatment plant have jumped up pretty significantly. And I took a look at data from, I think, starting in June all the way through the end of the year here. And it's been a pretty significant jump, about 300,000 gallons a day. And so we're suspecting that possibly that old storm sewer probably leaked and allowed groundwater to infiltrate. And now you have new storm sewer that has wrapped joints and you're not getting that infiltration into that storm pipe. So it's possible that the groundwater level has increased in that area and it's now maybe leaking more into the sanitary pipe. Before I go any further, Jake, maybe you want to fill in any gaps I left
So,
there.
second week of April, we noticed the flows jump up to about 600,000 gallons a day, which is just under what our plant's supposed to be able to handle for a daily load. It stayed up. We thought initially maybe it was just the frost coming out, the snow melt, and it stayed up through the summer. And as you know, we had a drought this summer, and it still stayed up. I double checked my flows that I've been receiving from Laskin, because they're our biggest discharger as far as wastewater goes. They're maybe accountable for 100,000 a day, but nowhere near the 300,000 we're getting. At this point, we're just gonna start doing investigations, see what we can find, see where we can find the fix, and go from there. The reason we're bringing this up to you is this, I mean, Joe looked at it and it was, you know, could possibly mean going through and lining some sewer lines, but then we gotta take care of the groundwater, because otherwise that's going into people's basements, so then we'd have to stub off the existing storm sewers to take in that groundwater. That could get expensive. But in the talks me and Brian have had, I mean, we could apply for PFA again and possibly get funding that way, am I correct?
Yeah, and so this WIF grant that was triggered on the wastewater project is an affordability grant, which means basically you've met your affordability, and that means that other wastewater projects you do, you're still gonna be at that affordability limit. And so, potentially, if this is, you know, when we first looked at it, we thought maybe the contingency money could be used for a lining project, and as we started to look, it looks like it might be a little bit more significant than that. So if it became its own project and you could get the funding through PFA, that WIF grant would probably, once again, cover close to 80% of it, if that was solving a flow issue at the wastewater plant, which right now, it looks possible that that could be the scenario. So if there is good news in it, it's that, you know, this is gonna directly affect the wastewater plant, and hopefully the same funding source for the plant you got would be eligible for this project, but there would be some hoops to jump through, like the facility plan and those other things we had to do for the wastewater. I reached out to NPCA and with the holidays and stuff, I haven't gotten a response, but I'm gonna reach out to them again and see what their take on this is, and how we could utilize funding and what we would need to do that. The next step, as Jake said, is really to investigate this and see if we can track down exactly where it's coming from. And with things drying out now through winter, I'm not sure we're gonna be able to take a look at too much until spring when stuff starts to melt and those flows come back up.
Have they dropped now?
Yeah, they just dropped over the weekend here. We're back down to about 300,000 gallons a day. Typically, we're supposed to be around 300,000 gallons a day almost year round. Summer, you'll see about 400,000. I went through data from 2018 till current, and it's clear that this year, for whatever reason, flows just cranked right up.
And they had been there since summer, so it's a
Yeah.
bit odd that they dropped off so dramatically so quickly. But with the cold snap, there could have been an inlet or something that froze up that all of a sudden took a bunch of the flow out. We don't quite know. And so we're gonna continue to track it, and I think as the weather, you know, changes, and I know, Jake, in December when you had that rain, there was a big jump in flow. So it is concerning that those flows were up that high and summer was extremely dry. And so, yeah, I think there's definitely some concern that this is gonna have to continue to be looked at. And when things thaw, we'll get a better idea of what we're looking at, so.
So Kenny and Jake, when you're doing construction on Suffolk, did you run into a lot of high groundwater? That's why it's confusing to me that, I remember Dave, there wasn't any groundwater.
Oh, Wyandotte had a bunch of water in there when they were digging in, but talking to Joey Sopp, he said to watch out for this. A lot of times he does a storm sewer project and, you know, the groundwater loses its outlet, so it just builds up in the ground. And we got old clay tile sewers from the 50s when this town was built. And you look at the video of those lines, and I mean, there's holes all over. I mean, it could be just the groundwater coming in. I can't think of another source where it could be coming from.
Right.
So,
So we'll do some investigating this spring and summer and see what we can figure out where it's coming from. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm gonna reach out to MPCA because, if this is something that we need to get back on that funding list, there is a deadline this March, and I'm hoping that the facility plan we already did for this wastewater plant, maybe they would just allow another amendment to it. Because otherwise, then we fall just another year behind, and again, without knowing, you know, you get some wet weather this summer, how bad the flows will get. I just don't want to fall behind on being able to move something forward if needed, so.
Okay. I think it's a good idea to get on the plan, because just because you get on the plan doesn't mean the city council still has to vote to spend the money, so.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, you wouldn't have to do anything, that facility plan, we'd have to see what it is, what they'll allow and what they won't, but that doesn't commit you necessarily to a project, just like the wastewater did, so.
So I guess the question I have, when we do a street project like we did and we dug up everything, I thought we replaced everything. So isn't all the sewer lines new underneath that?
No, just on Andover. Only Andover had complete utility replacement. Arlington, Wyandotte, they just had storm sewer done for the most part. So all that new pavement and stuff, there's still old water lines and sewer lines under there. But I get it, we only have so much money to deal with, we gotta take what we can get. But
Right, and I understand that, but I thought the only time that we ever did a total repave was when we made sure we didn't put good tar over old utilities, but,
majority, or most of Suffolk was untouched as far as sanitary goes.
yeah, right. And obviously, the other thing I'm sure you've looked at is you haven't seen any fluctuation in the water usage in town?
No, I looked there first, nothing's coming out of our tanks like that would justify that amount. Water plants still hold around 200,000-300,000 a day. even when Minnesota Power's running, so.
Keep us posted.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. 11.3 City of White Lakes mandatory COVID-19 vaccination policy. Becky?
So there was a little bit of scramble towards the end of last year, beginning of this year regarding mandatory vaccines. The Minnesota OSHA was a little unclear as to if local governments, regardless of size, counted as required to follow the federal ETS or only employers over 100. We did get clarification middle of last week that only employers of 100 or more, including local governments, are required to follow the federal ETS. That was, of course, after I prepared all the documentation you see in front of you. So I brought it forward to you. If you'd like to look at it, you are eligible to implement it. I did speak with Attorney Bernfeld on that. However, you would have other employment concerns if that were the case. Other employment impacts, specifically bargaining with the union.
Council?
I know myself, I've been very proactive with this COVID all the way through, and I think it's a great thing. I think it's something that I would be 100% in favor of enforcing.
I don't see it going away for a while, Dan.
No, it isn't going away, it's getting a lot worse, so. And the vaccinations aren't going to make it go away either, but the fact that the unvaccinated are proven that they're getting a lot sicker and their chances of, being in the hospital, whatever, are a lot greater. And then it's gonna start affecting our workforce that are unvaccinated, so.
Attorney Bernfeld, comments on this?
Yeah, just, since a vaccination mandate would not be federally mandated for you as an employer, as Becky mentioned, you do have discretion to go ahead and pass one of your own. When it's federally mandated, you can do it, really without negotiating with the union because it's federally mandated. But if it's not federally mandated or mandated by law, it is a term or condition of employment. So before you implement this kind of policy, you would have to go ahead and negotiate with the exclusive representative for your employees. BAP's the exclusive representative over the implementation and the impacts of this type of policy. So there would be, as far as the union's concerned, there would be some hoops that you would have to jump through in that regard.
Dave or Deb?
Personally, I'm not for mandating. I think it's a personal choice. I myself am vaccinated, it's my choice. I just have a hard time demanding that our workforce be subject to this.
Deb?
I would echo his, I'm vaccinated and boosted, but I also feel it's a personal choice, so I wouldn't want to mandate it, but.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I don't understand why people want to get vaccinated with losing a million Americans over this. But it's a very touchy situation. And I'm also fully vaccinated and boosted. And there's a lot more issues to me since my wife works in healthcare. And the toll is put on her, but I don't see this passing at this time, so. Unless someone wants to make a motion, with 4 of us here tonight, I don't see how that's going to.
Just for the record, I'm gonna go ahead and make the motion.
Okay, absolutely. Absolutely, there's a motion on the floor by Councilor Pop. Is there support? Failing support, the motion denies. 11.4, appointment to fill vacant city council position. Becky?
We received 2 applications for the vacant city council position, which you can appoint to as there's less than half the term remaining. Chief Sudo took a look at both of the applications, and one of them he indicated may not be in great fit for the city council. The other he indicated maybe. There's a little bit more experience there. There is a lot more public service, other local elected boards, those kinds of things. So my recommendation to the council would be to appoint Sherry Grams for the open seat.
Questions, discussion?
And that would be basically a one-year term, then, correct? Christine's would have expired with mine at the end of this year.
That is correct. If you appoint tonight, what will happen is I will contact her, I will swear her in, and then she will sit the next council meeting, so her term will be 1/11 to 12/31.
Do you need a motion on that?
Correct, yep.
I'll make a motion to appoint Sherry Grants
Motion
to
by
the city council.
Councilor Zins, is there support?
I guess I have one question with that, because I know when Christine's was filled, that position would then be filled as soon as the election was over, the night of the election in November, rather than wait until the beginning of the year. Because you had said it wouldn't run until the end of the year, but I think it only goes until the day after the election.
Not for appointments like this, no. This will run through the end of the term, and then the new terms for all council and mayor begin January 1st.
Yeah, how much time is left on the vacancy that you're filling?
It terminates 12/31, so less than a year.
Oh, yeah, then less than a year, then, yeah, then that's right, so if this is the last year of the term of this seat, then, yeah, then you wouldn't go to the election, it actually goes to the end of the year.
And it's a month.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Because Christine there was a year plus, that's why.
Typically, usually if the vacancy occurs, it's kind of a 2-year rule. Then they would serve until the next regular city election, and then to fill out, if it's a term, if there's 2 or more years remaining on the vacancy is kind of the general rule of thumb, then they typically would just serve temporarily until you have the next regular city election, then it would be placed on the ballot, but if there's only a year left, then it serves till the end of the term.
Okay, any other questions? Is there support?
I'll support that.
Support by Councilor Pop. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Resolution, or excuse me, 11.5 job description updates. Becky?
I do think we should read all of these aloud. I'm requesting 2 motions from the council tonight. The first is the grouping of job descriptions to approve. So I met with all the supervisors, I met with the union president on all of these to approve job descriptions. It's basically getting them all into the same format, it's getting all the wording the same. The pay equity portion of those job descriptions will be updated the next time we do pay equity, which is next year. But other than that, they all look good to go. There were a couple typos on them that I will get updated on the official ones, but other than that, the 2 approves are ready for your approval. The retirement job descriptions are ones we no longer have here in the city, like long air drill site laborer and police chief. So those are just ready to be retired. We won't throw them away or anything in case we ever need to pull them back out. But they're no longer going to be positions we're going to see applicants for.
Okay. Do you want separately a motion? Any questions? I've gone over them briefly. I have full faith in city staff. So I'll make a motion to approve the new job descriptions.
Support?
No, okay, I'll make that motion. Okay. And supported by Councilor Zins. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. And then I need a motion to approve the retired job descriptions.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilor Kramer, support.
I'll support that.
Support by Councilor Pop. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Resolution 2022-001, to appoint city officials. I think we should read them off as long as we're on camera here, so, resolution to appoint 22 city officials and officers, city administrator, clerk treasurer Becky Lammy, library director Susan Sowers, golf recreation arena supervisor Wade West, assistant weed inspector Wade West, public works supervisor Ken Snetzinger, public utilities supervisor Jake Barrett, electrical inspector state of Minnesota, animal control officer Jed Olmsted, zoning officer Matthew Ryseth, light officer Jordan Oronsky, city assessor St. Louis County, city attorney Colosimo Patchen and Kirky, fire department officers Chief Anthony House, assistant chief Jeremy Damon, 3-year captain Kevin Ekman, 2-year captain Pete Wallner, 1-year captain Nate Skelton, secretary Ann Breland, EMS director Melanie Olmsted, assistant ambulance director Cody Hanson, acting mayor Dave Zins, EDA acting chairman Dave Zins, emergency management director Tim Seward. Any questions or changes? Anybody in the council would like to do that?
I will update prior to signing, I will update the job titles so they match our new job descriptions.
Okay. Motion to approve?
I'll make that motion. Motion by
Councilor Pop, is there support?
I'll support.
Support by Councilor Kramer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. 11.7, resolution 2022-002 to appoint boards, committees, and commissions, official depository, official newspaper, White Lakes Economic Development Authority, council, and EDA meeting dates and times.
I do have one correction to this. The golf commission members on the form are incorrect. They are Dan Darbo, Pete Sandvik, J.R. Kopp, G. Mackey, and Wade West, and all the terms are expiring 12/31/22.
Okay. Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Councilor Pop, is there support?
Support.
Support by Councilor Zins. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 11.8, approve the transfer of funds between the general fund and other funds to cover deficits, interest allocations, fiscal agent fees, bond principal, and interest, and approved budget items. It's a standard, we do this every year, so the city staff can get all the funds in. Questions? Motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilor Pop, support?
Support.
Support by Councilor Zins. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. 11.9, casual paramedic hiring. White Lakes EMS Department Hiring Committee, Mel, Cody, Hanson, Ann Breland, Dave Zins, Dr. People, and Becky Lammy recommended hiring of Bill Olson as a casual paramedic. Any comments, Mel? Dave, you were there?
Yes. No, I think he'd be a good fit.
Okay, just a casual paramedic picking up shifts when he can. Motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilor Zins, support?
I'll support.
Support by Councilor Kramer. All in favor? Aye. Aye, opposed, motion carries. Last item, 11.10, arena men's no check hockey, open gym hours. Wade, I got called on the men's no check. The new book coming out, which we're gonna print after today, what is it, $100 for men's no check? Or 110 did it go up to?
Okay,
And then $10 a night, how is that working out?
so far so good. Yeah, we just started, we went on our third Sunday, so.
Okay, there was some, the comments was they didn't think somebody in that group should be responsible for collecting the fees. I mean, if everybody, I told them the cleanest way with everybody get a season ticket,
Right.
and then with.
But with this year, with them starting late, I don't know if, I will barely get to where they break even on that, and the guys on shift work won't break even, because we'll be done the first Sunday in March, we're done. We start looking at it, the guys on shift work, they're not gonna buy a season pass.
Right.
Cheaper for them to go per night.
What is pickleball? What do we charge for pickleball for the year?
I think that's $50 for the year.
And then how, is there a thing on there per time too?
No, there isn't per time, but
It's just the year?
yeah, but that's a very tight-knit group, so you rarely get any, there's not a lot of new people come into it, and if they do, they just pay for the season then.
So are you still asking somebody that's there to collect money for the night on men's no check?
Yeah, that's usually me.
Oh, you collect the money?
Why, I'm there.
Okay,
So you're not paying anybody to even staff the place either.
right, and I understand.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I've been there every night, so,
Okay. And you think it's going fine?
yeah, no, it's working out good. We've got a pretty good group now. We've got a lot of guys on shift work, because they're all younger, so some weeks you're gonna have quite a few, and some weeks it's gonna be a little less, so.
Okay.
But no, it's working out okay.
Okay. And then gym hours, are we posting any gym hours?
I haven't been, because it's just, my schedule's been all over the place, but I can start doing that now. It's pretty much leveled off.
Okay.
We had, a few practices canceled, teams quarantined for COVID reasons and stuff, so and then I also have 4 nights a week, I have youth basketball in there,
Oh, you do have youth
Yes.
basketball play?
from 5:30 to 7.
Okay.
On Monday through Thursday, there's youth teams in there, so.
I did not know that. That's good, because that's my main goal, is to get the building used.
They've been there, they took, of course, Christmas break off, but
Okay.
otherwise, they're there 4 nights a week, so.
Well, perfect.
Yeah,
How is the junior goal?
good. They're having trouble getting games because a couple teams dropped out. Bemidji and Brainerd didn't have enough kids for teams, so they're spending a lot of time traveling and getting teams from the cities up here to play, so.
Okay.
It's going well. The kids are all, they're all a bunch of nice kids. I haven't had any issues at all with them, so.
Good.
That's good. They use the locker room back there. They keep it clean. As I told them the first night they're in there, that anything left on the floor at the end of the night, when I get in and clean it, goes right in the garbage. I don't care if it's skates or whatever, and a couple kids found their stuff in the garbage one morning, and that pretty much solved that, so.
How many kids they got? They still in that 20 range?
No, they got like 17 or 18.
Okay.
But with these kids, they're never there at the same time. Every practice they'll have 14, but they got 17 for games, so it's hard to keep track.
I'm sure with COVID going on and people missing.
Right, I know one parent came in today and picked up his kid's stuff because he's got it, so parent came and picked up his equipment this morning, so. But otherwise, it's going well, so.
Any other questions for Wade on the arena or anything? We're still hoping, Representative Lizgard's still pretty positive about us getting some funding for the arena for this, hopefully, this session, so let's hope that comes through.
Yes.
Anything else to come in front of this council tonight? Not hearing any. Motion to adjourn. Motion by Councilor Kramer, support? Support by Councilor Zins. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Good night, everybody. Thank you.